Sir.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, and your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center, sunny, breezy, and warm today. High of 78. Could have a thunderstorm overnight, low 65. Currently, 63 degrees at O'Hare, and your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Watch today's show live right now on the Income Store live video stream at 560theanswer.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560.
Just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So Baruch Assault appearing at the UN Climate Summit yesterday to address an assemblage of Oompa Loompas. Greta Thunberg is quite upset with me and Amy and you and everybody not on stage with her.
My message is that we'll be watching you.
It's not funny.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
They started clapping because
They were scared.
the wind started blowing her hair, and they thought fireballs were going to shoot out of her like Drew Barrymore in Firestarter.
I kept thinking, and the Emmy for the best dramatic performance in a limited series goes to.
That's not a dramatic performance. That's not a dramatic performance.
This feels like acting to me.
No.
Or is this worse?
This is brainwashing. That's what this is.
For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe.
Thank you so much. We're only ignorant, not evil. I appreciate that charitable characterization, Miss Thunberg. She did, though, however, recognize that despite our ignorance and the opportunity for her to inform our ignorance, we're not mature enough yet to hear the solutions.
How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable, and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is.
You're not mature enough to tell it like it is. She's scolding world leaders, scolding adults.
I don't understand. So I'm not mature enough to be instructed as to what's to be done, but if I don't do something right now, the whole place is going to
blow up in 8 years.
The collapse like a dying star, it sounds like in 5 minutes to listen to her say it. For more on this topic, as well as an interesting piece on why Americans are afraid to grow up, we're pleased to be joined by Libby Emmons. She's a contributor to Spectator USA, Quillette, and The Federalist. Libby, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What did you think of Ms. Thunberg's breathless offering yesterday?
I thought it was a bit much. I don't think that acting from a place of crisis and total panic is the best idea. She talked about how she wants us to believe that our house is on fire and to act from a place of that. But if any of you have, I've never had that experience. I've had nightmares about my house being on fire. And typically it's running around trying to find my cat and dash out the door and worrying that I'm forgetting everything that matters. That's not really a way forward. You can't just cut your head off and then think you're going to come up with any good ideas.
Well, she was also with 15 other young people who are, they're filing a complaint with the United Nations accusing Germany, France, Brazil, Argentina, and Turkey of violating their human rights. What exactly does that mean? Could you help me out?
That they're violent. I don't really understand how that works either. And the thing about it is, it can't really be a violation of human rights if what has spurred the worldwide economy and lessened world poverty is fossil fuels. None of this would be happening if it wasn't for the fossil fuel industry that has spurred this kind of growth. We'd be back in, what did we have before? We had whale oil. We were hunting whales. So that's not better. Do they really want to go back to something like that? It's the existence of this kind of human rights dialogue is a result of the industry that has fueled education and lessened poverty worldwide. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I'm a little confused in our culture today, and this gets to your piece about growing up in America. On the one hand, the Greta Thunbergs and the David Hoggs are lionized. They are elevated to important intellectual leaders. We should let them direct our energy policy on the one hand, our policy with respect to guns in America on the other hand. I mean, the fact their credentials, the quality of their arguments, the evidence they present notwithstanding, we just should. So we should be led by the children on the one hand, the same children that we don't think should be able to decide whether or not to smoke a cigarette at the age of 18 and so forth. You need to be protected from vaping devices. So I'm a little confused as to whether or not we're supposed to be taking our cues from these kids or protecting them from themselves.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting. I wrote about this for the Post Millennial in the piece that I wrote about the climate march. And I took my son out of school that day, to avoid a spelling test, and because he'd been asking for a day off school, and the New York City School Department excused 1.1 million kids from going to school on Friday so that they could attend this march. And what I saw were a lot of high school kids, which was, great. I love the kids of this city. But they're out there running around like crazy people, yelling, "Free the nipple," and, cursing at adults and all of this ridiculous stuff. It really just seemed like an excuse to go wild in the street, which kids need that excuse, but putting that with we're going to save the world by running around going crazy didn't really make any sense to me.
And you should have seen the mess. The mess that they left behind in Hyde Park. I mean, our CPS school system, they didn't allow them to leave. They said if you walk out, it will be marked as an unexcused absence. But people did walk out at Walter Payton Prep, Lane Tech. It's in all the schools. And it was a pretty fairly good-sized crowd. But the garbage they left behind was unbelievable to me. You'd think that they'd have some self-responsibility to pick up their own, what, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And you're talking about saving the world. Well, start with yourself. Be self-responsible. It made me so mad.
I mean, the thing, too, is like this idea that every single action that we take has to be in service of saving the world also puts so much stress on everyday life that is already experiencing stress. So, yeah, I mean, you're leaving your Kit Kat wrappers around and thinking you're going to save the world by leaving school for the day. It just doesn't really make any sense. And then, as you mentioned, with the delayed adulthood thing, you have kids being told that they're the only ones who can save the world, but also that they can't make any decisions for themselves. Also that they, like you said, they can't vape or smoke or join the military or have a drink or make their own determinations about schooling. So what is this message that you can save the world from your protected little bubble, but you can't actually come up with any solutions for your own personal life? Why is that all right? It's very confusing message, I think, and it's almost as if projecting some sort of innocence and naivete on children that doesn't actually exist. If anyone actually remembers what it's like to be a kid, you have mixed motivations, you're confused about things. It's not this paradisical place from which you can, project some innate understanding that no adult can fathom. That's just not what childhood is like.
Yeah,
You're just growing up. That's what it is.
Let's reverse the angle of look at this though, and talk a little bit more about the parents, because the Greta Thunbergs aren't coming from nowhere. They're coming from some sort of family structure. They've family combined with perhaps educational environment, and so how are the adults doing there? You write in your piece, adults are so afraid kids will turn out traumatized like us. They wrap them in bubble wraps of affirmations. Talk a little bit more about what the generation of parents that are parenting millennials and Gen Zers are doing that is perhaps counterproductive.
I think a lot of these parents might be my age and a little bit older. And, probably my sister, she's younger, but she doesn't do this at all. But I think what we're looking at is parents who are just really obsessed with making sure their kids get to advance in the knowledge economy, that they're doing everything possible to funnel them into that system. And that's the entire concern. It's like making sure that they have all of the extracurriculars that they need, that they have pursued every conceivable passion so that they can find where they want to be, that they have the utmost self-confidence, and anything that's going to jab at that self-confidence, they push away. So when kids come up and they say, after hearing a decade or whatever of climate change and action is going to kill us in our public school systems, which are heavily slanted in that direction, and then the kids say, oh, we're going to save the world, the parents step back and say, yay, yes, you are. You are going to save the world, definitely, just like you can tie your shoe, just like you can blow your own nose and make your own eggs. Though if kids are even allowed to make their own eggs anymore. So I think that has a lot to do with it, too. It's like this pressure on kids to achieve and not wanting anything to get in the way of that achievement. Look at this, this college admissions scandal. Oh. These parents who were so concerned with their kids' achievement that they didn't care that their kids weren't even able to achieve on their own.
She is Libby Emmons. She's a contributor to Spectator USA, Colette.com, as well as The Federalist. Check out her latest pieces, Why Are Americans Afraid to Grow Up? And I took my kid to see Greta Thunberg, and all we got was this lousy social